Welcome to Authentic Space Podcast with Kasha and Co, who live their lives unapologetically.
How do we feel about season one? It feels like it took so much time to record it, to edit it, and to get to the point by which we both felt it this podcast needed to be out there, right? It took a while, but I feel like now with season two, we have a bit more experience and we understand a bit more what it takes to record a podcast. Is the beauty of it, I think, of season one, and I hope season two as well, is that the concept is the same. We just, call each other, we hit record, and we discuss things that we just want to discuss and try to go with the flow as much as possible. But I think we're also aware of how hard it is to just put something so important out there in the world, right?
We do want to be authentic with it. So, we do have a better grasp on how to kind of go about it. Obviously, some of our fears came up along the way too, but we're here, we're doing it, we're excited for season two.
Absolutely. And season one was a test run, but I think it was a good test run, at least so far.
Absolutely.
As I said, I mean, it took a bit of time to put together. We really didn't know what we were doing. I think the beauty of it is exactly that. And for me, I don't know, for me, it was a bit of like a milestone in my life. Because I find myself talking to a lot of people about different things that seem to follow a pattern somehow. Like, it's like it's the same message, almost the same message over and over again. It's a way of life, it's a way of thinking that seems to be useful to people, and people just kind of find it interesting. And so I think it was a good idea to put it, to record it and to put it out there in the world.
It's also a way for us to process it, right? When we process it, we have to think about it from different angles, different perspectives. We talk to people, we talk to friends, and it's just, that's part of kind of growing and evolving and also being authentic. Uh, you know, when we have certain feelings or even perspectives and beliefs, like we things don't change overnight, right? We do have to kind of ponder about it, contemplate it. Even as humans, we don't change overnight, right? Everything has a process, everything takes time. So it's kind of the same thing with with us and with what we've been kind of going through throughout the whole season.
Yeah, that's true. And I've been rethinking about, when we were recording. We were recording pretty much during the height of COVID, and how life has again changed so much since then. I feel like, yes, and it keeps on changing, and it's actually very cool to like listen to the 2021 version of yourself,
Hmm.
where I feel like I'm exactly the same person, but there has been some sort of development and evolution in a lot of the things that have happened in my life, and that, you know, um, I have, I don't know, I have thought through somehow. And it's wow, what a roller coaster, like it's kind of fun to like listen to both of us talking
Yeah,
about a specific topic and rethinking about it right now, and how it's like, yes, I still think that, it's still important
absolutely.
to me.
I do feel that now, kind of thinking about it, and like you said, as we are listening to or re-listening to the old season and kind of the way we used to be, a couple years ago, the way we process things, the way we talked about certain things, the way we thought. It almost, and part of the reason why we even called this authentic space is because it's kind of like a journey of our own authentic journey that we want to share, right? So,
Yeah,
uh, and I'm sure as we kind of move forward into future seasons and the future evolution of this podcast, I do feel that we're going to see like an amazing transformation within us, right? We're not
for
experts
sure.
at this. We're just sharing our authentic journey as we're progressing, right? And hoping that our
Yeah.
community kind of follows us and joins us along the way.
I really like the idea of the processing because it does seem like itself as a process of development when you think about, oh my god, we started recording this in 2021 and look at where we are now and how fast life changes, because in the end it was, I mean, not even 2 years ago. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah, it's part of growing up. Also, it's part of maturing. It's part of. I also feel like it's amazing. For us, is it's this podcast among other things as well. For other people, it could be something else, but it's just a way. As we share it and as we speak about it, even processing, contemplating, and even maturing, like it needs to be shared, right? You
Yeah.
can't just think about it and just think that everything is just gonna happen within you. Like it needs to be, you don't want to stagnate it within your body. You want to
No.
kind of let it out and you want to share the beauty of it and the blossoms of it, right?
Yeah, and remember when we were recording the first episodes in season 1, that one
Hmm.
of the things that we actually said and we keep on telling each other is the fact, if this will only help one person, it will be worth it, you know?
Absolutely. Yes.
And I feel like there are like a lot of people, I mean, not a lot, but there's a good number of people that find it and have found it interesting. It really, I think a lot of the things we share are so real or just very raw to a certain extent that I think it really does help. And it also does spark a lot of conversations
Yeah.
about different topics.
And I think I think that's the beauty of it. Again, it is authentic, and we want it to be raw, right? We want it to be not perfect right away. We actually don't want it to be perfect ever, because no one is perfect. We're not perfect. We're just the best that we know how to be and that we can be. But that's far away from perfect. Like, who's perfect in the world? There's no perfection whatsoever.
No, and thank God there isn't. I think that the beauty of life is that we're all different and we go through life in different ways, but that there are some points that can be inspirational and that can be common grounds and that can be helpful for people. So I have actually a couple of friends that have just recently stepped out the corporate world and they have just embraced fully their talents, and I am so proud of them. Maybe in future episodes we'll interview them or something, because I think that it's very important to hear from others as well, because for me what has been interesting is that this feeling of, wanting to be our true selves and really embracing our talents and what we can give to the world is something that a lot of us share. It's just that we don't really talk about it. We don't talk about it as much as we should be talking about it.
Because it's scary, it's what you do is scary, and then it's also because our society is not necessarily accepting you stepping out of that box.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not necessarily accepted, right? It's not the way previous generations have done it. It's not what we call safety and security these days.
Yeah,
It's just, we just have to, but we do have to acknowledge that the world has changed. It's shifted. I think even more so, COVID showed us how quickly everything can change and shift.
totally.
And it's just it's scary. It's scary to be vulnerable. It's scary to go out there and share with the world, right? You don't know who's listening. There's going to be criticism. There's going to be comments that maybe aren't the nicest to hear.
Right.
It's
That was a very scary thing for me. Like, I feel that when we put out the first episode and we were ready, it felt like I was showing myself completely naked to the world.
absolutely,
I think
yeah,
that has a huge impact on yourself, like on the idea that you have of yourself. I have fought with imposter syndrome for many years now. And while it feels I feel like I'm doing much better with it professionally, but I think also personally on the personal level, I still felt it very, very hard when we went out. When we came out, we stepped out of our comfort zone.
remember that first message, your podcast is officially live.
Wow. I
um,
still have goosebumps thinking about that.
it was scary, and kind of going back to like, I do feel that even though we have a lot to share, and we have a lot of experiences that we want to share with the world, and in hopes that we help some people kind of get out of their own way. It's still, even for us, it's we are work in progress, right? We are constantly evolving and growing, and we still have a lot of fears. There's still a lot of things that will come about that we will need to deal with, individually as well as together. So it's not an easy journey, but as we said it, I think many times in the first season, it's all about that courage, right? It's all about just kind of stepping out of the closet and really trying to just kind of following what you're motivated to do, and what you feel you're meant to do in this world, as opposed to just hiding behind your fears.
Yeah. But it's not that easy. Like, I kind of feel like I remember, when we were just editing all the podcasts and all the episodes and stuff like that. um and I remember calling you at a certain point and telling you, oh my god, I just came back from a trip, and it was the sign that we needed, because I went to Paris to see to meet one of my most favorite artists, and uh, now writer, pretty much, because actually she's coming up with a second book in December.
Oh wow, that's
I've already
amazing.
told I've already told Ben, like, here you go, your Christmas present is already figured out. Uh, so I just like sent him the link.
Did
Look.
he did I'm sure he was like, well, isn't this your favorite Christmas present? But thank you anyways.
Oh my god. I mean, and I was like, okay, so this is like the pre-order link, whatever, you do you, but anyway, so I went to Paris with him, and we met Jamie Back. Jamie Back is an American photographer who went through a very interesting transformation herself. um and basically, like, just to give a bit of a background for those who don't know her, she's a photographer, American photographer. She was pretty much born with the camera in her hands. Like, I feel like she talks about how she got to where she is right now, and she just says, like, since the first camera was given to me when she was very, very young. Maybe she wasn't born with it, but you know what I mean.
Mhm.
It's like those people that are born with their talent, and they've had the, I want to call it, the luck of understanding that that was going to be what they would be doing for the rest of their lives. Maybe they didn't know it at that time, because she probably didn't know when she was like, what, 13 or something.
Mhm.
But it's one of those things where you have the clarity of dedicating a lot of your time to a specific art or to a specific talent, and it just takes over your whole life, and that's like boom, that's it, that's what you're meant to do, that's what you're supposed to do. And Jamie is like
Hmm.
that. So Jamie is a photographer, American photographer, and basically what happened is that all of a sudden she just, I think she was working in New York, she was doing a lot of different projects and things like that, very very famous, very popular. And then I think she was, she got to a point where she was kind of like on autopilot, where
Hmm.
we talk about this a lot of
Yeah.
time, a lot of times, the autopilot. And long story short, she was on a plane and coming back from Europe, and the plane almost crashed. And yeah, basically she told herself like, there you go, I'm gonna die, and I haven't lived in Provence or something like that. And then she told herself, if I survive, because she was sure she was gonna die, if I survive, I will move to France, I will move to the south of France, for a year. And she's still there.
Yeah.
So this was like, so, and what she tells the story very beautifully of how she moved to Provence. It was very very hard, so against all odds she managed it. And she has a very beautiful way of talking about it, as when she rents her first apartment, she finds this apartment and she spends a lot of time of the initial part and phase of her new life completely naked, not, washing her hair or something like that, just becoming the rawest version of herself, and then making art, and then take her camera, take pictures, and explore her talent. And so she wrote a book. She which is a beautiful photo book, but also a story of how she evolved and how she became the photographer she's today.
Hmm.
And she was in Paris, and so we went, we met her, she signed my book, we kind of talked. But the best part of this, it's like not only hearing the story from her point of view, but also meeting a lot of other women with a similar story,
Yeah.
but not yet having taken the step to what they call, like some people call, the second life, right?
Hmm.
And it was amazing because I was there and I was like, Jamie, because I've gone over the edge already.
Hmm.
Like I've just thrown myself into what I am doing now and what makes me who I am today. But a lot of other people, a lot of other women around me were still on the edge of the cliff. They were almost ready to throw themselves down, but I feel like a lot of them were just saying, yeah, but this is just a hobby, it's just a passion, it's not going to make any money, this is not a job, the usual thing that you hear
Yeah.
from people.
It is, you do have to have a lot of courage, but also obviously every person is different, right?
Yeah,
Everyone approaches things differently in life, right? So some people just, they just go after it. They don't, they take action. That's it. Other people have to kind of think about it. Then there's also the question of do you have like a support system? Because obviously it's harder to do if you are in a circumstance or if you don't have people around you that you can share this stuff with and that you can really kind of get some ideas off of, or any even if it's just emotional mental support
yeah,
or even a monetary support. Because at the end of the day we all have to make money to live, right, on this
true.
planet, right? We're not birds or other animals that don't pay for rent or and food, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, it is obviously scary, but it's like everyone also approaches things differently, and also it kind of depends on what your circumstance is, how you were brought up as well. It's just for some people it's just they almost even fear to think about this new possibility, right? So
yeah,
I do feel like a lot of people, and I want to say, I don't want to say mostly women, but kind of a lot of women I came across, that are just basically kind of using these explanations, as in like, yeah, it's just a hobby. I can't, I can't make money off of it. It's not reality, or whatever the reasons are, right? And that's, we are really good at sabotaging our own happiness and a way forward.
I feel there is also a dimension of comfort
Hmm.
that adds on to this.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
so we are afraid of putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions, but it is the way we I think it is the way we do step out of the comfort zone, being uncomfortable. I mean, I know it sounds kind of like a bit.
That's exactly what it is, right? So, comfort, being in comfort zone is an illusion. And, sometimes we do prefer to be not comfortable, but still be comfortable, thinking that this is where my safety is.
Yes.
But being just uncomfortable is usually not enough to step out of it.
No, that's true.
It has to be so painful in that comfort zone where you literally would prefer to, like, it's literally a matter of life or death. And we're not talking about like an actual physical life or death, but it's really the call of your authentic soul speaking out, saying it is so important for me to be me, as opposed to being in this illusion that I've been living in my whole life, or what I've kind of built up for myself based on what I was told
The
to growing
programming
up. And yes, absolutely, conditioning. Yes.
and the idea that
This is the only way to live, and there's nothing else, and don't branch out of, just stay in the line, wait for your turn, wait for your ticket. Like, life doesn't have to be like that.
no, but this is like we've said it in in season 1, and I feel like 2 years later, I feel that this is in full blown implementation. I think that
Hmm.
this is happening.
Much more than ever before.
Totally. And the fact that I was in a room with like 45 people, um 44, because Ben has already gone off the Ben was there. He was like the only man in the room. No, maybe not the only man, but like there were like two other guys or something like that, which was hilarious. But um it was funny how even him, he was just kind of like looking around and like listening to people, like pieces of conversations and things like that, or like questions that people asked to Jamie and stuff. And
Hmm.
he just like, we got out. I was beaming with energy and like, holy moly, we gotta put this thing out
I
right
remember,
now.
yeah, when you
Remember?
came back and you were, we need to talk.
Oh my god, like holy mother of dragons. Like it was such a moment. And
Mhm.
even Ben, when we walked out, he was like, these people, they need to know about your podcast.
And you know what it is? It's interesting how, prior to you going to Paris, it's been about a year and a half of us. We already knew we were going to do this, right?
Yes,
But it
yes,
was us kind of dealing with our own illusions, conditioning, insecurities, fears.
totally.
And then it was also like, how do we do this? We have so much to share. How do we process it? How do we get it out? What does it take? Because
What impact
we
is it going to have on
right, and
people?
what are we trying to, like, really kind of figuring out what we're trying to do here, but also the technical aspects of things. I mean, I always thought podcasts, you just press record and you just let, you just
Eesh,
post it, right? But it
Jesus.
took so much time between edits and trying to figure out what we're doing and how to go about it and do the setup and the websites and you name it, right?
Yeah, and it's not like we
So
are perfectionists or anything, right? Wah,
yeah,
wah, wah.
we are, again, we are learning as we go, and hopefully, I'm sure we're going to get better as we go as well.
Of course.
But it's just, it took us about a year and a half. We already had everything recorded pretty much, right?
Totally. Totally.
And it was just everything else was just pretty much getting ready for the release date, but also that push that we truly got, you know.
Yes. And I think this is like the signs that life gives you sometimes. I
Hmm.
think that you may have all the good intentions in the world, and I'm sorry. This is nothing, it's not a negative thought. It's not like I'm not criticizing ourselves and our delays and stuff like that, because I mean, I'm one of the reasons why
See,
we
like,
delayed.
I would honestly though, I don't even call it a delay. I do feel that everything is energetic. We kind of mentioned that in the first season, but there's a time and space for everything to. Sometimes it's just, maybe, we started off with our friends, family friends, and then it's kind of going to the bigger audience. And it maybe not everyone was ready for it. Maybe we weren't really ready for it yet, maybe if we pushed for it, then it wouldn't really work. Maybe we wouldn't be doing a second season now.
Yeah.
So everything has its process, and I think everything happened the way it needed to happen.
This
So
is very true. This is
yeah.
very true. I still feel like very critical about myself, but about that, but because I see a pattern, but I also understand that it works this way and it's a pattern for a reason. There is a reason
Yes.
why I don't throw myself at things as I, used to, but I really just, there is something in me that tells me throw yourself right now. Now it's the time. Go
Hmm.
ahead.
Hmm.
And but I think that not all of us are trained to hear that. I don't think that people are used to doing this. I think we always wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment will never be there. The perfect moment is the moment you do it.
But I also want to say that us coming out with the podcast, that's not when we stepped over the edge.
No,
We've been already years after that. So we've already been through the pains, the discomfort, then kind of stepping off the edge and not knowing what we're going to do. How are we going to survive? What are we meant to be doing? We're talking years later, is when we even started thinking
totally.
about doing this podcast, and so it takes a lot of time, and it is a process. For us it took a few years, right? And
And I mean,
so
and that's the understanding that everything takes time and that there's nothing wrong about, waiting for the sign. There will be a sign.
mhm,
There will be the aha moment where things will just work.
you will know exactly when it's time. You will know exactly when it's that time, when you're ready to kind of move forward with whatever you had intended to do,
Totally.
right?
I think it's nice when you realize that you can hear that voice within you, and then it's like,
Yeah.
I think in one of the episodes we talked about um this feeling that sometimes I have where everything in the end will work out the way it needs to work out. Maybe right now it looks like a full blown mess and things are not working or whatever, but it's almost like the understanding that one way or the other, I'll get to the point where, okay, this is checked, this is done, this is ready, and stuff like that. I somehow will find a solution, or that I will, you know, um, find the
Find a
way.
way.
Yes,
Yes.
the path will just
Mhm.
become clearer, and yeah,
And pretty much like there always is a way. It's not only for you, it's not only for me, it's pretty much for everyone who's aligned and tuned in with their intuition, because that's the guidance that you get, that inner guidance. You don't have to worry about, oh, whether it's, whether everyone is doing it or not. Your timing will come when your guidance will tell you that you're ready for it.
for sure. So this is something that is actually very nice to, I think, end with, because it's the fact that, you are not born ready to do the things that you are meant to do.
Especially if you came from a lot of conditioning and a lot of
Yes,
programming,
which most of
um,
us
which is
are.
most of us. I think the richer, the people that have even a richer experience and more to share are going to have, most likely are going to have more programming and conditioning that they went through.
Yeah.
So we just have to be patient with ourselves and allow, not life, but our inner guidance kind of guide us, because it always knows what's best for us in every moment. We don't have to worry about, timing. It will come. We will know when it's time.
And if you have, I think that if you have like these women that I met in Paris some months back, if you have already a spark within you, like if you are attending these events where you are basically looking for someone who has done it and has succeeded. I mean, I'm not saying that, we're going to be millionaires and stuff. I mean, I hope
But
so,
I mean,
obviously, but
even whether you're attending events or whether you're listening to podcasts or you have someone that you follow or even a book that you read, even,
totally.
a beautiful experience or a connection that you see right in front of you when you're, I don't know, walking in the park, those
Yes.
inner sparks, right?
Yeah.
Um, you
There will
know,
always be a moment. This is like this is my belief. Like there will always be a moment where you unlock the next level. And it's going to feel like I can point to these moments in my life with just such, you know, clarity. And looking back, it really feels like, holy moly, that was the moment
yes.
with capital THE. Um, that was the moment, that was the time, that was when I just drop off the edge of the cliff and embraced, you
And
know.
it's exactly how those milestones are born, right? And I also
Yeah,
love how when you go back to each one of those, whatever the experience it was, or whatever the stepping of the edge it was, you probably remember it till today, exactly
yeah.
how everything went on.
And how it
And
felt.
yes,
And
how
how
it
it felt.
felt, and it just felt so natural, and it was like a clear, pure knowing. There was no doubt.
Yes.
No, nothing else would persuade you otherwise.
Yes. It almost feels like, as you said, just like second nature, just it just comes out. And then, like years after, I just think about it and it's like, oh my God, the signs were there.
Hmm.
All of the signs, everything was already there. It was right in front of my face, but it wasn't the right timing. It wasn't the right time. So it's a matter of listening, but also of understanding that the time will come because it always does.
And I think with the, going just real quick, going back to the little spark that we get, right? Sometimes it's also, there's, our when our intuition speaks to us, just because it's starting to give to kind of introduce us to a certain idea, or a certain way or a path, that doesn't mean this is the time. That again, you're going to know when that time is. But sometimes when you hear these like thoughts or that kind of whisper, just start kind of introducing yourselves and kind of feeling, um, getting to know the idea, play around with it, do it, as I like to say, as a hobby, right? Do it on the side of like everything else that you're doing. Think about it. Have kind of joyful like ideas with it. Play with it, and then it will slowly start kind of taking shape. And again, when you're ready, you
Totally.
will know
It
it.
sticks with you. I have a feeling that it becomes
Absolutely.
something that starts as a little tingle and then it will blow out of proportions. Like if you are not in the authentic path that you are supposed to be, you will get a lot of
Hmm.
signs because life and your inner self will always push you towards your natural your nature and what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah. Natural way of being, right? Your inner genius. Absolutely. Your highest potential.
Stay tuned for more and join our community at AuthenticSpacePodcast.com and on Instagram at AuthenticSpacePodcast.